Barron could not believe his ears. Was she serious right now? He knew she was doing all this out of spite, but it was still unprofessional. "Mister, this is my restaurant, and those are the rules," she said with a cold smirk. "Bella, how could you say and do something like that? You shouldn't have fired him," Barron questioned in a furious tone. "He disrespected me in my own restaurant. That is completely unacceptable. He had to learn the hard way that not everyone can get what they want in life. The weak ones always get trampled on." This conversation was taking place at the Willow Cloud restaurant. It was a pretty decent restaurant with good food, a place for decent conversation without interruption, or so he had been told. He heard about it from a friend. Barron Trump and his friends were celebrating the successful closure of a business deal. They had worked on securing this deal for months, so it was a thing of joy that their hard work had finally paid off. They wanted to eat at a restaurant, so one of them told them about this place. However, unknown to them, as they walked into the restaurant, they had walked into trouble. Walking into the restaurant, the aroma of different dishes made Barron and his friends' mouths water. They looked forward to a hearty meal. They sat down at their table, and then a nice-looking young guy walked up to them. "Hello, sirs. Good evening. My name is Maxwell Stanford, and I will be your waiter tonight. Please, may I take your order?" he asked politely. Barron smiled. "Could you give us a few minutes so we can review the menu?" Barron requested. "Sure, no problem, sirs." And then he walked away. After looking at the menu for a few minutes, Barron and his friends finally decided to place their orders. That was where the problem began. First, it seemed like all their orders arrived late, while everyone else in the restaurant got their food on time. Then their orders were mixed up, and each ended up with a dish they did not want or ordered. So they had to wait extra minutes for that to be corrected. By the time their food finally arrived, it was cold and unsavory. This made Barron upset. He just wanted to have a nice meal with his friends and celebrate. Now it seemed that he had come to the wrong restaurant. So Barron decided to speak up. He called the waiter and asked, "What is the meaning of this? Is this how you treat your customers? First our order was delayed, then it was mixed up, and now you are telling me we have to eat this." The waiter turned pale. "I am so sorry, sir, but there seems to be an issue with the chef in the kitchen. He seems to be having a bit of an off day. He is usually so meticulous. I don't know what happened today, sir," he apologized. "I would like to see the manager of this establishment," Barron said with a serious face. "While it's sad that the chef is having issues, he should not allow his problems to affect him at work." "Right away, sir," the waiter responded, and then dashed off to go and call his manager. He sat at the table, staring sourly at his meal, when a shadow loomed over him. He looked up and saw that the waiter had brought his manager. Barron stood up to complain, but stopped when he saw who it was. "No way!" he thought in shock. Isabella Duane looked bitterly at Barron. The nerve of him to disrupt her personal life and act like nothing ever happened. She was shocked and upset when she saw Barron walk into her restaurant. You see, Barron had been her crush and first love in high school. She liked him since 7th grade. However, Barron never noticed her. He even ended up dating Sofia Alvarez, a cheerleader. When she saw this, she was so heartbroken. She then summoned the courage to tell Barron how she felt. Unfortunately, he rejected her in a very calm manner. "I'm sorry, Isabella, but I am in love with someone else." She had been so embarrassed and hurt. After a while, her embarrassment turned into anger. She felt he was only dating Sofia because she was rich and her father was a big business tycoon. Since then, she tried avoiding Barron, only interacting with him when necessary. However, what pushed her over the edge was when she requested his help assessing a business plan she had drafted. Everyone knew Barron was a genius when it came to business tactics. She always wanted to open a restaurant. She showed Barron her business idea, but he said it wouldn't work in the long run. This hurt Isabella because she put a lot of effort into it. Despite his response, she didn't give up and applied for a loan to start the business. When they asked for her business plan, she showed it to them and then gave an overview of what she intended to do. After assessing all that they needed to, she was granted the loan. At that point, she wondered, was Barron trying to set me up for failure by discouraging me from following my dreams? Or did he believe I won't succeed because I'm not as rich as he is? Ever since that moment, she hated Barron and everything he stood for. It was enough that he didn't consider her feelings. Then this. So when she saw Barron stepping into her restaurant, she saw red. "I guess the rejected stone has become the chief cornerstone," she thought bitterly. "Well, I'll show you, and then you will regret what you did back then," she said with disgust. She gave the chef specific instructions on what to do. At first he seemed upset by her idea, but she threatened to withhold his monthly pay, so he reluctantly agreed. She first asked him to delay Barron's and his friends' orders. Then she had him mix up the orders on purpose. She watched how Barron and his friends looked agitated from her office and smiled in satisfaction. Then she entered the last phase of her plan. She ordered that the chef make the meals so bad that they would not be able to eat them. That was where he put his foot down. "No," the chef said. "I can delay and mix up orders, but I will never intentionally serve a bad meal." "Fine," she scoffed. "I'll do it myself." Then she took the jar of salt and vinegar and dumped half of each into their dishes. "There, that should do it," she thought with a satisfied smirk. Then she ordered the waiter to serve the dish. The unsuspecting waiter took the meals and served them to Barron and his friends. When Barron called for the manager, she was already coming to his table. She was pleased with the look of shock on his face when he saw her. "Good evening, Mr. Barron. My staff informed me that you seem to be having problems with our service here," she said in a cold voice. "Hello, Isabella," he greeted. "Yes, I have a problem with your service in this restaurant. You see," he began. However, before he could finish, she interrupted. "If you have a problem, then you are free to leave." "What? Are you indirectly kicking us out?" one of Barron's friends asked in disbelief. "Take it however you want it, but if you feel like this place does not meet your high standards, then you are free to leave." The waiter said something that caught Isabella's attention. "I'm sorry, did you say something?" she asked in a mocking tone. The waiter, who looked scared but had a determined look on his face, said, "But he and his friends did not do anything, ma'am. We are the ones who gave them poor customer service." Isabella fumed. The whole restaurant became silent. It was early in the evening, so not many customers were in at that moment. "I see. So are you saying that I am doing a poor job at running this place, and that you can do a better job than me?" she asked in an angry tone. "No, ma'am, that is not what I meant," he said in panic. "I just mean that the young man and his friends came for a nice meal. They didn't come off as bad folks, but the way we treated them as soon as they walked in here was unfair, and we need to apologize." "Apologize?" she said in quiet fury. "Well, why don't you go and open your own restaurant, since you seem to know all about how to run one?" she said in a spiteful tone. "What? Ma'am," the waiter said in an alarmed tone. "That's right, Henry. You are fired." "Ma'am, please, I can't lose this job. I have a baby on the way," he pleaded. "That's your problem, not mine," she said coldly. "Go and clear out your locker and be gone in the next 30 minutes, she ordered. "You can't just fire him," another of Barron's friends said angrily. "I just did. I'm the boss, not him." Barron could not believe his ears. Was she serious? He knew she was doing all this out of spite, but it was still unprofessional. "Mister, this is my restaurant, and those are the rules," she said with a cold smirk. "Bella, how could you say and do something like that?" Barron questioned in a furious tone. "I can't have him disrespect me like that. Besides, he needs to know his place. I am at the top, and he is down there at the bottom." She turned and, in a very annoying tone, said, "Have a nice day, Mr. Barron and friends." Then she walked away. Barron turned to the waiter and apologized. "I'm so sorry. It's my fault you got into this mess," he said sadly. "No, it's all right. I knew what would happen if I spoke up, but I could not just stand by and watch her humiliate you and your friends like that. It was wrong, and I'm sorry for what she did to you and your friends." Barron was touched. Not only had this man lost his job for defending him, but he was also apologizing for something he clearly did not do. Barron smiled and offered his hand for a handshake. "Barron Trump," he introduced. "And these are my friends," Barron said, introducing them individually. Henry shook Barron's hand. "Henry Steinfeld. Wait, you mean Trump? Like the president's son, Barron Trump?" Barron smiled and said, "Yeah, that's me." "Wow, it's an honor," Henry said, shaking his hand. "If you need help finding a job, just let me know," Barron said, giving Henry his card. Henry smiled and said, "Thanks, man, I appreciate it," and then took the card. After Barron and his friends left the restaurant, Henry sighed. He went and did as Isabella ordered. He cleared out his locker in the employees' dressing rooms and then turned to leave. His other employees were so shocked. "I can't believe Isabella would do this to you, James," a young guy in his 20s said. "Well, kid, it is what it is," Henry said sadly. "She is such a terrible boss. If it weren't for the pay, I would have quit long ago," said Laura in a pissed-off voice. All the other employees murmured in agreement. Everyone was sad to see Henry go. Although in his 30s, he was a hard worker and really nice and friendly to everyone he met. When he was done, he picked up his bag, said his goodbyes, and left. As Henry walked home, he sighed. How was he going to take care of his family now that he had no job? I dropped out of college and could not complete my education, so my job options were limited. I have a wife who is pregnant and a little girl. How will I take care of them? He thought. When he reached home, his little girl Annie ran to him for a hug, a bright smile on her face. This was the highlight of his day, going home to his wife and daughter. He would not trade them for anything in this world. As Annie told him about her day, his mind drifted to their current predicament. His wife Natasha could not work due to a health complication with the pregnancy, so he was the sole breadwinner of the family. Natasha noticed how absent-minded her husband was since coming home from work, so after they tucked Annie in bed, she asked what was wrong. He sighed and explained what had happened at work today, up to the point of being fired. When Natasha heard this, she got mad. No offense, honey, but I never liked your boss anyways. She was just so fake. Henry smiled. Then, Natasha's face got serious, and she asked, What will we do now? We have a baby on the way, and this is not the time for us to not have a source of income. Don't worry, dear. Tomorrow I'll look for another job. He stood up and hugged his wife as he assured her, Don't worry, honey. We will be all right. I know, and I'm sorry for overreacting, but I'm just worried. Let's just go to bed and sleep on it. You will feel much better tomorrow morning. After leaving the restaurant, Barron and his friends decided to have pizza instead. By the time they were done celebrating, they had almost forgotten what had happened at the restaurant. All except Barron, who felt sad that Henry lost his job because of him. After his friends left, he called his mother. Hello, Barron. Tell me, how was your day? His mom asked. Barron told her about his day, from winning the contract, to his encounter at the restaurant, and then to the part about Henry losing his job because he tried to help him. When Melania Trump heard what that restaurant owner had done to Barron, she was furious. Don't worry, son, she told him. I will fix this. Barron smiled. By the way, your father is here, and he wants to speak to you, and she handed over the phone to her husband, the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Barron, your mom says you got your contract. Congratulations, Donald said with warmth in his voice. Barron's chest swelled with pride. Thanks, Dad. But it seems you ran into some trouble today? What happened? Barron sighed and then narrated the story to his father, too. I see, Donald Trump replied. It was a good thing that the waiter did, defending you like that. Sadly, he lost his job for doing the right thing. He should not be punished for that. Don't worry, Barron. I'll help, Trump said. Thanks, Dad, Barron replied. He said goodnight to his parents and went to sleep feeling better. The next morning, Henry felt a bit better. He got his daughter ready for school and dropped her off. He planned to update his credentials at home to start looking for a job. He had already sent out some job applications earlier and hoped for a good response. On his way home, he stopped by a coffee shop and got some coffee and donuts. Then he got a milkshake for his wife. He had just stepped into his apartment when his phone rang. It was from a strange number, so he ignored it. Must be from one of those advertisement companies, he thought. Then it rang again, and a thought came to his mind. What if it's from one of the places I applied to work? He quickly dropped the things he had bought on the table and picked up the call. Hello, please, am I speaking to Mr. Henry Steinfeld? The person asked. Yes, this is Mr. Henry Steinfeld. How may I help you? He responded with hope coursing through his veins. My name is John McKeanty, and I am the personal aide to President Donald Trump, the person said. Henry's hope deflated. Must be one of those scammers. He was about to end the call when he suddenly remembered the person he met at the restaurant the previous day. Barron Trump, President Donald Trump's son. His face came alive. His wife was coming to the living room, wondering why it took her husband so long to give her the milkshake she asked him to get. Mr. McKeanty continued, The president would like to have a word with you. Is this a convenient time? Yes, of course. I mean, sure, why not? Henry stuttered. Please hold on for a moment, John said, and then Donald Trump's voice came on. Good morning, Mr. Henry, President Trump greeted. Mr. President, it's such an honor to see you. No, I mean hear from you. Good morning, sir, he rambled. Natasha stopped in her tracks. Did her husband just say, Mr. President? President of where? As far as she knew, Henry doesn't know any presidents. Now she was curious. Mr. Henry, my son told me about what happened yesterday and how you helped him out and defended him. He also told me that you lost your job because of what happened. I sincerely apologize for that and would like to help you in any way I can as a thank you for what you did. Henry felt lightheaded. Is this a dream? He wondered. Mr. Henry, are you still there? President Trump asked after a few seconds of silence from the other end. Yes, sir, I'm fine. I just needed a moment for it to sink in. Donald Trump chuckled. I guess that's okay. But please tell me, what would you like? Is it a new job, or would you like to start your own company? Whatever you choose, I promise to do all I can to help you. Henry thought about it. What would he like to do? As soon as the thought popped in, so did the answer. Honestly, sir, I would like to open my restaurant. After what happened yesterday, I feel like we need to have more places in America, not covered by bias, where people who want to just hang out and eat good food can. Besides, I finished college and ended up working in many restaurants. I know for sure that a lot of restaurants have some sort of bias toward the people. I want to open a restaurant that accepts people irrespective of who they are, Henry said. Then he began to panic. Oh no, have I said too much? President Trump hummed in agreement. That is a really good idea. Will $5 million be able to take care of this project of yours? President Trump asked. Henry's head swam. He needed to sit down. $5 million. That was more than enough for the restaurant he had in mind. He and his family could move to a new house, get a car for his pregnant wife, and still have lots left over. That is a very generous amount, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Don't mention, people like you are the reason I believe America will be great again. Keep standing up for what's right, Henry, and believe in yourself. Thank you, sir, Henry replied. All right, have a lovely day, Henry, and I look forward to visiting your restaurant when it's opened. All the best. Then the president hung up. Henry sat on the sofa, dazed. Honey, is everything all right? Natasha asked. With a dazed smile, Henry answered, Things have never been better. The next couple of weeks, Henry's restaurant began to take shape. He didn't know how to handle business, so he called someone really good at it, Barron. Henry sighed in contentment as he surveyed the restaurant. After asking for help, Barron agreed, delighted to help Henry set up his restaurant. They decided to partner together to make this dream a reality. After about 3 months, the restaurant held its opening ceremony, which was a success. Last he heard of Isabella, her restaurant had shut down 2 months ago due to lack of funds. A couple of days ago, she had come in, looking for a job. She did not know that Henry was the owner. Fancy seeing you here, Henry, she said with distaste. You too, Isabella, Henry replied in a calm tone. She looked around, trying to look anywhere but at Henry. Why are you here, Isabella? He asked politely. To see the boss of this place. Not that you would be able to take me to him, she said. Henry began to laugh. What's so funny? She queried. Well, that's the thing, Isabella. I am the boss. Isabella looked at him in disbelief. Yeah, right, she thought. Then a woman who looked like an employee approached him and said, Boss, we are out of rice for the risotto. Henry excused himself and left to attend to his emergency. He turned and saw Isabella's sad face. She left without a word. Henry shook his head and said, Some people never change. The next month, Henry celebrated the birth of his son Liam. His life changed, and he was thankful for all the good things he had. He was happy and hopeful for the future. What lesson did you pick from Henry's encounter with Barron? Let us know in the comments. If this video was inspiring, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen. See you next time.